When people think of Italy, they imagine ancient ruins, Renaissance art, or fine cuisine. But hidden beyond the cities is another masterpiece. A world of birds so strange and surprising, you won't believe they exist. In this episode of Bird Videos, we'll explore 20 of the strangest bird species found in Italy, from the rolling countryside to the snow-covered Alps and the windswept coastlines. You'll meet the flamboyant hoopoe with its fiery crest and butterfly-like flight, and the jewel-toned bee-eater, painting the skies with color. We'll scale cliffs with the wall creeper, whose scarlet wings shimmer like living stained glass, and follow the eerie call of the eagle owl, a giant predator of the night. Along the way, we'll encounter bizarre hunters, mountain specialists, wetland dancers, and giants that seem pulled from another era. Each bird reveals a different side of Italy, one that rivals its art and architecture and wonder. So let me ask you, if you could witness only one, would you choose the fiery crown of the hoopoe or the blazing eyes of the eagle owl? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know. Let's begin. Our journey begins with one of the most instantly recognizable and unusual birds in all of Europe, the Eurasian hoopoe. In Italy, its fiery crown and strange flight make it a symbol of both mystery and beauty, and the perfect way to open this adventure. At first glance, the hoopoe is unforgettable. Its body is a warm cinnamon orange, wings and tail boldly striped black and white, and on its head a magnificent crest of feathers that fans open like a crown of flames. When excited, it raises this crest in a sudden burst, transforming from a modest bird into a show-stopping performer. In flight, it doesn't glide smoothly like most birds. Instead, it flutters in a rolling, uneven path, more like a butterfly than a bird. Here's the shocker. The hoopoe's oddities don't stop at its looks. Its call, a soft hoo-hoo-hoo, is the sound that gave the bird its name. Farmers in Italy often welcome it because of its appetite for insects, which it digs out of the soil with its long, curved bill. But at the same time, its strange appearance and habits have made it the subject of myths. In ancient folklore, the hoopoe was sometimes seen as a messenger or even a bird with magical powers. The hoopoe's ability to thrive in varied habitats, from orchards and vineyards to open meadows, makes it one of Italy's most familiar yet striking species. Seeing one perched with its crest fanned against a Tuscan hillside or darting across a vineyard is like catching a glimpse of living art. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers to Italy look only for monuments or cuisine and miss the hoopoe's fiery display. But if you overlook it, you've missed one of the country's most iconic and strangest natural treasures. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird wearing a crown of fire, fluttering like a butterfly across the fields, would you dismiss it as odd or cherish it as a jewel of Italy's wild? Comment below, and don't go anywhere, because next we meet another explosion of color in the skies, a bird that hunts insects mid-air with flawless precision, the European bee-eater. If the hoopoe is Italy's bird of fire, then the European bee-eater is its rainbow in the sky. Few birds anywhere in the world rival its explosion of color, and when you see a flock in flight, it feels as if the sky itself has been painted. At first glance, the bee-eater dazzles. Its body is cloaked in turquoise, chestnut, golden yellow, and emerald green. A thin black mask lines its eye, giving it a sleek, exotic look. In sunlight, these colors shimmer like jewels, making the bird look almost unreal. Even people who know nothing about birds stop and stare when a bee-eater flashes overhead. Here's the shocker. This beauty is also a skilled hunter. As its name suggests, it specializes in catching bees and wasps mid-air. With flawless precision, it swoops, snatches its prey, and then performs a remarkable trick. It smashes the insect against a branch to remove the stinger before swallowing it. Watching this tiny acrobat in action is like watching nature's own martial artist. Even more impressive is its lifestyle. European bee-eaters nest in colonies, digging tunnels into sandy riverbanks. Dozens, even hundreds of birds gather together, filling the air with constant chatter and vibrant energy. In breeding season, entire riversides come alive with their calls and flashes of color. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers in Italy spend their days gazing at cathedrals and frescoes, but a colony of bee-eaters is nature's own Sistine Chapel. Alive, moving, radiant. Miss it, and you've missed one of the continent's most breathtaking spectacles. For birdwatchers, it's a moment of pure joy. The air buzzing with bees, the sudden swoop of color, and the soft chatter of a flock perched on a wire. So let me ask you, if you could choose between watching a rainbow in the sky or a rainbow that hunts with surgical precision, which would you pick? Comment below and stay with me, because next we meet another rare splash of blue, a bird that tumbles through the air in acrobatics, the European roller. After the rainbow brilliance of the bee-eater, we turn to a bird that paints the sky a different shade, the European roller. With its vivid blues and acrobatic flight, it is one of the rarest and most spectacular birds to see in Italy. At first glance, the roller is a burst of turquoise and sky blue, with chestnut patches on its back that flash like copper in the sun. Its wings, when spread, reveal dazzling electric blue panels that light up the air with every flap. In flight, it looks as if a fragment of the Mediterranean sky has taken wing. Here's the shocker. The European roller gets its name not from its colors, but from its daredevil flight displays. During courtship, males perform dramatic rolling dives, twisting somersaults, and sharp turns high above the ground. These aerial acrobatics are both a show of strength and a spectacle of beauty, turning the sky into a stage. Rollers are summer visitors to Italy, migrating from Africa to breed in open woodlands, farmland, and river valleys. They often perch on wires or fence posts, scanning for prey. When they spot a target, insects, lizards, even small rodents, they swoop down with power and precision. Their hunting style is as bold as their plumage. And here's your FOMO. Rollers are now scarce in many parts of Europe, their populations threatened by habitat loss. To see one in Italy is a privilege, a reminder that some jewels of the wild are fragile and fleeting. Miss it, and you've missed one of Europe's most spectacular living treasures. For birdwatchers, a roller in flight is unforgettable. The sky itself folding and twisting in a dance of color and motion. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird turning somersaults in midair, would you think it's strange or applaud nature's own acrobat? Comment below, and don't go anywhere, because next we leave the bright skies and step into the shadows of the forest, where a giant black bird pounds against the trees, the black woodpecker. After the dazzling sky acrobatics of the European roller, we step into the deep forests of Italy, where a shadowy giant rules the trees, the black woodpecker. It is the largest woodpecker in Europe, a bird that can be heard long before it is ever seen. At first glance, the black woodpecker is striking in its simplicity. Its entire body is cloaked in glossy black feathers, giving it a ghostly, almost ominous presence among the trees. A splash of scarlet crowns its head, bright red on the male's entire crest, and a smaller red patch on the female. Its pale, ivory-colored bill gleams against the dark plumage, a powerful chisel made for tearing into bark. Here's the shocker. When this woodpecker goes to work, the forest listens. Its hammering is so loud it echoes like drum beats through the woods, resonating for hundreds of meters. Trees riddled with large rectangular holes mark its presence, some big enough to fit a human hand. These cavities later become homes for owls, bats, and other creatures, making the black woodpecker an essential architect of the forest. Its diet is just as unusual. Unlike many woodpeckers that peck for small insects, this giant specializes in hunting carpenter ants and beetle larvae hidden deep inside trunks. With its long, sticky tongue, it reaches into tunnels and drags out prey, devouring colonies that would otherwise thrive unseen. And here's your FOMO. Visitors often look for colorful birds in Italy's countryside, but ignore the forests. Miss the black woodpecker, and you've missed the thunderous heartbeat of Italy's wild woodlands. For birdwatchers, an encounter is unforgettable. First, the distant drumming, then a black shadow glides between trees before vanishing again. It's an experience that feels more like spotting a forest spirit than a bird. So let me ask you, if you heard a deep, echoing drum in the woods, would you think it was human? Or realize you were in the presence of Europe's greatest woodpecker? Comment below, and don't go anywhere, because next we meet a smaller bird with a darker habit, one nicknamed the butcher bird for the way it stores its prey, the red-backed shrike. From the thunderous drum beats of the black woodpecker, we turn to a much smaller bird with a far darker habit, the red-backed shrike, often called the butcher bird. At first glance, it looks innocent, even charming, but a closer look reveals one of the strangest and most brutal survival strategies in Europe. The male is handsome, dressed in soft gray on the head, a black mask across the eyes, and a warm reddish back that gives the species its name. The female is subtler, with streaked brown tones that blend into the scrubby landscapes it calls home. Seen perching quietly on a thorn bush, the shrike might seem like any other little songbird, but it's not. Here's the shocker. The red-backed shrike doesn't just eat insects, lizards, or small birds, it impales them. Using sharp thorns or even barbed wire, it spears its prey and leaves them hanging in gruesome rows, like a butcher displaying meat. These larders serve as storage for later meals and as a signal to potential mates of the bird's hunting prowess. This grisly habit has earned the shrike a notorious reputation, but it's also part of what makes it so fascinating. Watching one swoop down, grab a beetle or mouse, and then carefully skewer it onto a thorn is both chilling and mesmerizing. And here's your FOMO. Many visitors to Italy expect beauty and song, but the shrike offers a reminder that nature is also raw and ruthless. Miss it, and you've missed one of Europe's most bizarre bird behaviors. For bird watchers, finding a shrike butcher's larder is unforgettable. It's a moment that leaves you torn between horror and awe, a reminder that even small birds can be fierce predators. So let me ask you, if you stumbled upon a thorn bush covered in insects and tiny corpses, would you recoil in disgust or marvel at the survival genius of the butcher bird? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we meet a bird just as strange, one that twists its neck in a way that looks almost supernatural, the Eurasian wryneck. After the grisly butcher bird, we meet another species that unsettles in a very different way, the Eurasian wryneck. At first glance, it seems plain, almost forgettable. But once it moves, this little woodpecker relative reveals one of the strangest tricks in the bird world. The wryneck's plumage is mottled brown and gray, blending perfectly into bark and dry branches. Its camouflage is so effective that spotting one feels like a test of eyesight. But what makes this bird truly bizarre is not how it looks, it's how it behaves. Here's the shocker. When threatened, the Eurasian wryneck twists its head in slow, snake-like movements, hissing and flicking its tongue. The performance is eerie, even unsettling, as if the bird were possessed. This strange display confuses predators and has earned the bird its name. Wryneck literally refers to its contorted neck movements. In ancient folklore, this behavior linked the bird with witchcraft, and it was sometimes used in rituals to ward off evil. Despite its creepy defense, the wryneck is harmless. It feeds mostly on ants, using its long, sticky tongue to probe into nests and drag out dozens at a time. Unlike other woodpeckers, it doesn't carve out cavities with powerful blows. Instead, it reuses old holes in trees for nesting, slipping quietly into the shadows. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers pass through Italy's forests and never notice the wryneck at all, but miss it, and you've missed a bird that blurs the line between the ordinary and the uncanny. It's one of those species that proves strangeness isn't always about color or size. Sometimes it's about movement. For bird watchers, encountering a wryneck is unforgettable. One moment, a dull brown bird on a branch, the next a creature twisting and hissing like a snake. It's a glimpse of nature's theater at its strangest. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird bending its neck like a serpent and hissing in your direction, would you laugh at its trick or feel a chill down your spine? Comment below and don't go anywhere, because next we climb into the high mountains to meet a clever bird that hoards seeds like treasure, the nutcracker. From the eerie twisting of the wryneck, we move into Italy's alpine forests to meet a bird that's less frightening, but every bit as strange, the nutcracker. Known for its intelligence and secretive habits, this crow relative is a master of survival in the mountains. At first glance, the nutcracker doesn't dazzle like the bee-eater or roller. Its feathers are chocolate brown, speckled with white spots, giving it the look of bark dappled with snow. It blends seamlessly into the coniferous slopes it calls home. But don't be fooled by its modest appearance. This bird's brilliance lies not in its looks, but in its memory. Here's the shocker: nutcrackers are hoarders. In late summer and fall, they gather thousands upon thousands of pine nuts from Swiss stone pines, then bury them across the mountainsides. A single bird can cache more than 20,000 seeds in one season. Even months later, under snow and ice, it remembers exactly where most of its treasure is hidden. These forgotten seeds often sprout into new trees, making the nutcracker not just a survivor, but a planter of forests. Their powerful bills crack open cones, while their adaptability allows them to thrive in harsh alpine climates where few other birds can. Their calls, harsh, rattling cries, echo through mountain valleys, betraying their presence long before they are seen. And here's your FOMO. Many hikers in the Italian Alps marvel at eagles or vultures, but they overlook this quieter genius. Miss the nutcracker, and you've missed the bird that keeps the forest alive. Without it, the pine forests themselves would struggle to regenerate. For bird watchers, spotting a nutcracker is a reward of patience. One moment it's perched silently, blending with the trees. The next it takes off with a pine nut clutched in its bill, off to hide another secret stash. So let me ask you, if you found a bird that plants forests simply by forgetting its food, would you call it careless or nature's most brilliant gardener? Comment below. And stay tuned, because next we scale sheer cliffs to meet a bird so rare and beautiful, it's called the butterfly of the mountains, the wall creeper. From the seed-hoarding genius of the nutcracker, we climb higher into Italy's alpine cliffs to meet a bird so beautiful and strange, it's often called the butterfly of the mountains, the wall creeper. Few species in Europe capture the imagination quite like this one. At first glance, the wall creeper seems unremarkable, a small gray bird clinging to vertical rock faces. But when it spreads its wings, it transforms. Brilliant crimson panels flash against black feathers, turning its flight into a living flame dancing across stone. As it flutters up and down cliff walls, it looks more like a butterfly or moth than a bird, earning its poetic nickname. Here's the shocker. Unlike most birds that fly in smooth arcs, the wall creeper moves in quick, erratic bursts, probing cracks and crevices for insects and spiders. It is perfectly adapted to life on sheer cliffs, able to cling to vertical surfaces with ease. To see one, you often need to scan towering canyon walls or mountain gorges, places where only the most determined birdwatchers venture. Its rarity adds to its allure. The wall creeper breeds in high alpine cliffs, but sometimes drifts into lower valleys in winter, delighting those lucky enough to spot it. Each sighting feels like a secret gift, a flash of red against gray stone that vanishes as quickly as it appeared. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers to Italy admire the Alps for their landscapes but never notice the wall creeper's dance. Miss it, and you've missed one of the most magical performances in European bird life. For birdwatchers, the wall creeper is a bucket list species, the kind that makes entire journeys worthwhile. To see it cling effortlessly to sheer cliffs, wings flickering like sparks, is to glimpse a bird that blurs the line between the earthly and the ethereal. So let me ask you, if you saw a gray speck suddenly burst into crimson flames against a mountain wall, would you believe your eyes, or think you'd seen a butterfly where none should be? Comment below, and stay tuned, because next we stay in the high mountains to meet a quieter but equally strange alpine specialist, the alpine accentor. From the crimson flames of the wall creeper, we stay in the high peaks of Italy's Alps to meet a bird that is less flashy, but no less remarkable, the alpine accentor. This small mountain specialist is a master of survival in some of Europe's harshest environments where few other songbirds dare to live. At first glance, the Alpine accentor looks modest. Its plumage is a blend of gray, chestnut, and soft streaks, perfectly camouflaged against the rocky slopes. But what makes this bird extraordinary is not its appearance. It's its voice and its resilience. Here's the shocker. The Alpine accentor sings high in the mountains, often above 2,000 meters, where icy winds howl and snow lingers well into summer. Its song is a sweet, melodious cascade, echoing across empty valleys like a flute carried on the wind. Males often sing in duets, creating a layered harmony that turns the stark alpine world into a concert hall. Even stranger, their social lives defy the usual bird script. Alpine accentors often live in loose groups where multiple males and females share territories and sometimes even cooperate in raising young. It's a flexible strategy that helps them survive in an unforgiving environment where food is scarce and conditions change quickly. In winter, when the peaks freeze over, these birds descend to villages and valleys, surprising locals by appearing suddenly on rooftops and stone walls. Seeing them hopping along a snowy churchyard or ancient Italian village is like catching a glimpse of the mountains themselves paying a visit. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers to the Alps look for ibex or eagles, but miss this little songbird entirely. Skip it, and you've missed the gentle voice of Italy's high places, a bird that thrives where most others could never survive. For birdwatchers, the Alpine accentor is a prize not because of its colors, but because of the story it tells. Resilience, harmony, and life in the thin, cold air. So let me ask you, if you heard a sweet duet drifting across an empty alpine valley, would you think it was just the wind? Or stop to discover the tiny singer behind the song? Comment below. And don't go anywhere, because next we stay in the rugged highlands to meet a game bird both iconic and strange, the rock partridge. From the sweet voices of the Alpine accentor, we descend into Italy's rocky highlands to meet a bird that is both a cultural icon and a symbol of the rugged mountains, the rock partridge. Hardy, wary, and steeped in tradition, this bird has long captured the imagination of hunters, hikers, and birdwatchers alike. At first glance, the rock partridge is striking. Its compact body is dressed in gray-brown plumage. But what stands out are the bold black stripes along its flanks and the crisp black and white face pattern that looks almost like a painted mask. A warm chestnut patch on the throat completes the design, giving it a proud, almost regal look. Here's the shocker. The rock partridge is a master of difficult terrain. It thrives on steep, rocky slopes where few other birds can survive. Its strong legs and swift movements allow it to scramble uphill faster than most predators can follow. If disturbed, it bursts into the air with a whir of wings, vanishing into cliffs in seconds. This agility has made it both respected and sought after in Italy's hunting traditions. But beyond its role in culture, the rock partridge is a bird of survival. It feeds on seeds, buds, and insects found in sparse mountain habitats, scraping a living where resources are scarce. During spring, its loud, chuckling calls echo across the hillsides, carrying far in the crisp mountain air. And here's your FOMO. Many visitors admire Italy's Alps for their dramatic views, but never look down at the rocky slopes underfoot. Miss the rock partridge, and you've missed a bird that is as much a part of the landscape as the cliffs themselves. For birdwatchers, seeing one feels like uncovering a hidden emblem of the mountains. Catching a glimpse of its masked face as it darts between boulders is like being let in on a secret of Italy's wilderness. So let me ask you, if you were hiking a mountain trail and heard a chuckling laugh echo across the rocks, would you think it was a person or stop to discover the proud rock partridge? Comment below. And stay tuned, because next we meet another mountain bird, one that transforms completely with the seasons, the rock ptarmigan. From the proud rock partridge, we now climb higher into the snowfields, where another mountain bird takes camouflage to a whole new level, the rock ptarmigan. This species doesn't just survive in Italy's coldest peaks. It transforms with the seasons, becoming almost unrecognizable from one month to the next. At first glance, the ptarmigan looks modest in summer, with mottled brown and gray feathers, that blends seamlessly into rocks and alpine meadows. But come winter, the transformation is breathtaking. Its entire plumage turns pure white, leaving only black tail feathers and a small red comb above the eye. Against the snow, it vanishes almost completely, like a ghost bird gliding across the frozen slopes. Here's the shocker. The rock ptarmigan is one of the very few European birds that completely changes plumage with the seasons. This adaptation helps it avoid predators year-round, from golden eagles in summer to foxes in winter. It is so perfectly camouflaged that even experienced hikers in the Alps can walk right past one without ever knowing it. But camouflage isn't its only trick. In the brutal alpine winters, ptarmigans burrow into snow to create insulated shelters, keeping warm even in blizzards. They feed on buds, twigs, and alpine plants, scraping out a living where temperatures plunge and food is scarce. And here's your FOMO. Many visitors to Italy's mountains look for big, dramatic species like eagles or vultures. But the rock ptarmigan is just as magical, a shape-shifting survivor whose beauty lies in its ability to disappear. Miss it, and you've missed one of the Alps' most extraordinary secrets. For birdwatchers, spotting a ptarmigan in its white winter coat is unforgettable, a living snowflake nestled against the mountainside. In summer, its mottled plumage tells a different story, one of endurance among rocks and wildflowers. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird that could vanish into stone one season and into snow the next, would you call it plain or marvel at its mastery of disguise? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we leave the high mountains for the wetlands, where elegance takes center stage with the long-legged black-winged stilt. From the snowy camouflage of the rock ptarmigan, we descend into Italy's wetlands, where elegance rules the shallows. Meet the black-winged stilt, a bird so delicate and strange it looks as though it was drawn with a calligrapher's pen. At first glance, the stilt seems unreal. Its body is pure white, its wings a sharp contrast of jet black, and below it all stretch impossibly long, thin, bubblegum pink legs. These legs are so exaggerated that the bird appears to glide above the water's surface, each step deliberate and graceful. Watching one walk is like watching a ballerina rehearse across a mirrored stage. Here's the shocker. Those comically long legs aren't just for show. They allow stilts to wade deeper than most shorebirds, giving them access to prey others can't reach. In shallow lagoons, salt pans, and rice paddies across Italy, they pick at insects, crustaceans, and tiny fish, darting their needle-like bills into the water with precision. During courtship, their elegance turns theatrical. Pairs perform synchronized displays, dipping and crossing bills, their long legs mirroring each other in what looks like a choreographed dance. Their high-pitched calls ring across the wetlands, adding music to the spectacle. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers pass by Italy's rice fields and coastal lagoons without realizing they're home to one of Europe's most graceful birds. Miss the black-winged stilt, and you've missed nature's own ballet performed on water. For birdwatchers, the stilt is a joy to photograph. Against the reflection of a quiet lagoon, its silhouette, slender body, delicate legs, bold wings, becomes a piece of living art. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird so finely balanced it seemed painted onto the horizon, would you dismiss it as strange or celebrate it as elegance perfected? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we trade grace for craftsmanship, meeting a tiny bird that weaves one of the most intricate nests in Europe, the Eurasian penduline tit. From the ballet of the black-winged stilt, we move to a bird that may be tiny in size but towers in skill, the Eurasian penduline tit. This little songbird is a master architect, building some of the most extraordinary nests in the entire bird world. At first glance, the penduline tit looks modest. Soft gray-brown plumage, a pale belly, and a neat black mask across its face. Barely larger than a sparrow, it doesn't dazzle with color. But its real masterpiece is not its feathers. It's what it creates. Here's the shocker. The penduline tit builds elaborate, hanging nests shaped like pouches, suspended from tree branches over water. Woven from plant fibers, reeds, and spider silk, these nests are strong yet flexible, swaying gently in the breeze. They often have a tiny entrance tunnel leading into a snug chamber, where eggs are hidden away from predators. To see one dangling over a quiet Italian wetland is like discovering a piece of natural jewelry. Even stranger, these birds are perfectionists. Males and females sometimes start multiple nests before settling on the best design. They weave tirelessly, pulling and stitching fibers with their beaks like expert craftsmen. The finished structure can take weeks to complete, and the level of detail rivals anything humans could make without tools. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers pass by reeds and willows without realizing that little pouches swinging in the breeze aren't debris. They're masterpieces. Miss the penduline tit, and you've missed one of Europe's finest avian architects. For birdwatchers, finding a penduline tit nest is a moment of awe. Watching the tiny builder dart in and out of its creation, carrying the threads of a home, is like witnessing artistry in motion. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird no bigger than your hand weaving a nest fit for a museum, would you call it ordinary or recognize it as nature's own craftsman? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we meet a bird steeped in European legend, one that towers over villages and fields with its enormous wingspan, the white stork. From the delicate craft of the penduline tit, we move to a bird that has carried centuries of myths on its wings, the white stork. This towering, elegant bird is more than just a species in Italy. It's a cultural icon woven into European folklore. At first glance, the stork is unmistakable. Its tall frame, long red legs, and snow-white body contrast sharply with its glossy black wingtips. With a long, pointed red bill, it strides gracefully across fields or soars effortlessly on warm thermals, wings stretching nearly 2 meters. To see one circling above an Italian village is like stepping into a storybook. Here's the shocker. The white stork isn't just admired for its beauty, it's believed to bring good luck. For centuries, people in Europe welcomed storks nesting on rooftops, convinced they brought prosperity, fertility, and happiness to households. Even today, their massive stick nests, sometimes reused year after year, are seen perched on chimneys, towers, and church steeples. But beyond myth, the stork is a remarkable traveler. Every year, it migrates thousands of kilometers between Europe and Africa, crossing deserts and seas to return faithfully to its nesting grounds. Watching them gather in flocks before migration is an unforgettable spectacle. In Italy, storks are ambassadors of both nature and tradition. Seeing one against the backdrop of farmland or an ancient church feels like a bridge between the wild and human history. And here's your FOMO. Many visitors to Italy admire architecture and art, but don't look up to the rooftops. Miss the white stork, and you've missed a bird that carries both culture and wonder in its wings. For birdwatchers, the stork is a delight not just for its striking form, but for its symbolism. It's more than a bird. It's a reminder of the bond between people and the wild. So let me ask you, if you saw a nest perched high on a rooftop, would you see just sticks or recognize it as a sign of luck in life? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we trade folklore for raw power, meeting Europe's heaviest flying bird, the great bustard. From the rooftop nests of the white stork, we now head into Italy's open plains to encounter a bird that combines sheer size with spectacle, the great bustard. Known as the heaviest flying bird in Europe, it is a giant that turns the grasslands into its stage. At first glance, the bustard looks powerful and imposing. Males can weigh over 15 kilograms, with broad, chestnut and white plumage patterned in intricate stripes. Their long necks and sturdy bodies make them look almost prehistoric, as though they wandered out of another era. Females are much smaller, but no less graceful, moving with a stately pace across the fields. Here's the shocker. In spring, males perform one of the most dramatic mating displays in the bird world. They puff up their necks, twist their wings forward, and fan out snowy white feathers until they resemble giant walking bouquets. This bizarre transformation turns an already massive bird into an explosion of fluff and color designed to impress watching females. The sight of a dozen males strutting across a meadow is like a surreal parade. Despite their size, great bustards are strong flyers. When startled, they launch into the air with heavy wing beats, soaring surprisingly gracefully for their bulk. Their diet is just as versatile. ranging from plants and seeds to insects and small vertebrates. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers cross Italy's farmlands without knowing these giants walk among them. Miss the bustard, and you've missed a bird that holds the title of Europe's most majestic heavyweight. For bird watchers, encountering one is unforgettable. To see a massive male in full display, gleaming white feathers flashing in the sun, is to witness a performance that few ever forget. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird the size of a small deer turning itself into a feathery bouquet, would you laugh at its strangeness or stand amazed at its spectacle? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we leave the plains for the high skies, where a colossal scavenger with a wingspan over 9 feet rules the thermals, the griffin vulture. From the heavy strutting of the great bustard, we rise into the skies of Italy to meet a bird built for grandeur and survival. The griffin vulture. Towering, eerie, and essential, this giant of the air is both strange and indispensable. At first glance, the griffin vulture is enormous. With a wingspan stretching over 2.7 meters, nearly 9 feet, it casts a shadow that makes you pause and look up. Its pale head, long neck covered in downy feathers, and massive hooked beak give it a prehistoric look, while its broad-fingered wings allow it to soar effortlessly on thermal currents for hours. Here's the shocker. The griffin vulture doesn't hunt. Instead, it feeds on carcasses, stripping the land clean of remains that would otherwise spread disease. Far from being grim, this makes it one of nature's most important cleaners, a recycling system in feathers. Watching a flock descend on a carcass is dramatic, but it is also life-saving for the ecosystem. In Italy, these vultures are making a comeback, thanks to conservation programs in regions like the Apennines and Sardinia. Once on the brink of extinction in parts of Europe, they now wheel once again above cliffs and mountains. A breathtaking sight for anyone lucky enough to see them. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers look for glamorous birds of prey like eagles and falcons, but ignore the vulture. Miss it, and you've missed a species whose strange role sustains entire landscapes. For birdwatchers, a griffin vulture in flight is unforgettable. Circling high on invisible thermals, wings outstretched like a glider, it seems less like a bird and more like a living relic of another time. So let me ask you, if you saw a bird with a 9-foot wingspan circling silently overhead, would you shrink from its eerie presence or admire it as nature's essential guardian? Comment below. And don't go anywhere, because next we meet a smaller raptor with a very different story, a falcon that hunts in flocks and thrives in Italy's open fields. The lesser kestrel. After the colossal shadow of the griffin vulture, we turn to a raptor that proves size isn't everything, the lesser kestrel. Small, agile, and often flying in flocks, this falcon is one of Italy's most energetic sky hunters. At first glance, the lesser kestrel looks elegant but understated. Males wear a soft bluish-gray head and tail, a warm chestnut back flecked with black spots, and pale underparts speckled like a watercolor wash. Females are browner and more streaked, blending perfectly with fields and farmlands. Despite their modest size, no bigger than a pigeon, they carry all the speed and precision of their falcon relatives. Here's the shocker. Unlike most falcons, which are solitary hunters, lesser kestrels often hunt and nest in colonies. In spring and summer, dozens of them gather in old buildings, cliffs, or even village rooftops, filling the sky with fluttering wings and sharp calls. Together, they swoop down on swarms of grasshoppers and beetles, their agile dives helping farmers by controlling insect populations. This communal lifestyle makes them fascinating to watch. Instead of a lone predator silently patrolling, you see an entire group of falcons weaving through the air, each one snatching prey with quick, deft movements. It's as if the sky itself has turned into a living net. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers admire Italy's grand eagles and vultures, but overlook these smaller raptors. Miss the lesser kestrel, and you've missed one of the most dynamic aerial displays in the Mediterranean. For birdwatchers, finding a kestrel colony is a joy. The chatter of the group, the constant movement, and the flash of bluish gray and chestnut against the sky make it one of the liveliest encounters in Italian birding. So let me ask you, if you saw dozens of tiny falcons wheeling and diving together over a sunlit field, would you dismiss them as ordinary or marvel at their perfectly choreographed hunt? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we climb higher into the rugged peaks to meet one of the most powerful and iconic hunters in Europe, the golden eagle. From the nimble flocks of the lesser kestrel, we rise into the rugged highlands of Italy to meet a bird that has inspired legends for centuries, the golden eagle. A symbol of power and freedom, this raptor is one of Europe's most formidable hunters. At first glance, the golden eagle is breathtaking. With a wingspan reaching over 2 meters, it soars effortlessly over mountains and valleys, dark brown plumage gleaming in the sun. Its nape glows with golden feathers, giving the species its regal name and adding to its aura of majesty. When you see one circling above alpine cliffs, it feels as though the land itself has a guardian. Here's the shocker. The golden eagle is capable of taking down prey many times its size. Rabbits, foxes, young deer, even mountain goats can fall victim to its explosive power. It dives at speeds over 240 kilometers per hour, striking with talons strong enough to pierce bone. Few birds on Earth embody raw predatory force like this. Yet it's not just a killer, it's also a strategist. Golden eagles often hunt in pairs, one flushing prey while the other strikes. Their intelligence and coordination make them masters of survival in some of Italy's harshest landscapes. And here's your FOMO. Travelers often admire Italy's culture and ruins but forget to look up. Miss the golden eagle, and you've missed one of the most awe-inspiring sights in Europe's skies. A bird that has symbolized courage and dominance since Roman times. For birdwatchers, spotting a golden eagle is a lifetime highlight. To watch it soar across the Dolomites or Apennines, vast wings outstretched, is to feel both humbled and uplifted by nature's grandeur. So let me ask you, if you saw a shadow glide across the mountainside, would you think it was just a cloud, or realize you were in the presence of Europe's mountain king? Comment below and stay tuned, because next we meet its coastal cousin, a raptor with a massive wingspan and a dramatic comeback story, the white-tailed eagle. From the golden guardian of the mountains, we now turn to the coasts and Great Lakes of Italy, where another giant rules the skies, the white-tailed eagle. This colossal raptor, sometimes called the sea eagle, is one of Europe's rarest and most powerful birds, with a story of survival that feels almost miraculous. At first glance, the white-tailed eagle is unmistakable. Its wings stretch nearly 2.4 meters, wider than most humans are tall. Its body is dark brown, but the pale head and massive yellow bill shine in contrast, while its wedge-shaped white tail flashes as it soars. When it glides over the water, low and slow, it looks like a shadow of a prehistoric predator reborn. Here's the shocker. This eagle is a fisherman. With sharp eyes, it scans lakes, rivers, and coastal waters, then plunges down to snatch fish straight from the surface with talons the size of a human hand. It also takes water birds in carrion, proving itself both hunter and scavenger. In medieval times, its sheer power made it a symbol of kings and warriors, but its story is also one of loss and recovery. White-tailed eagles once vanished from much of Europe, including parts of Italy, due to hunting and poison waters. Thanks to conservation, they are slowly returning, with sightings in wetlands and coastal regions bringing hope for the species. And here's your FOMO. Many visitors scan Italy's skies for golden eagles in the mountains, but forget the lowlands. Miss the white-tailed eagle, and you've missed a giant whose wingspan rivals that of the largest vultures, a living emblem of wild freedom. For birdwatchers, the thrill is unforgettable. To see a white-tailed eagle skim a lake's surface, talons outstretched, lifting a fish in a single motion, is to witness power, grace, and survival fused into one moment. So let me ask you, if you saw a shadow larger than life glide across a lagoon, would you think it belonged to a plane, or realize it was Europe's rarest eagle? Comment below and stay tuned, because our journey ends with one of the most mysterious and haunting hunters of all, a giant owl with blazing eyes, the Eurasian eagle owl. Our journey through Italy's strangest birds ends in the shadows, with a predator so powerful and mysterious, it feels like a creature from legend, the Eurasian eagle owl. One of the largest owls in the world, this night hunter closes our story with fire in its eyes. At first glance, the eagle owl is massive. Standing over 2 feet tall, with wings spanning nearly 2 meters, it dwarfs most raptors. Its plumage is mottled brown and tawny, blending perfectly into cliffs, forests, and ruins where it roosts by day. But the feature that stops you cold are its eyes, blazing orange, glowing like twin embers in the dark. Here's the shocker. The eagle owl is an apex predator of the night. It hunts silently, its broad wings muffled by specialized feathers that let it glide without a sound. Rabbits, foxes, crows, even other birds of prey can fall victim to its crushing talons. It is so powerful that in some areas it dominates the entire food chain after dusk. Its call is equally haunting. A deep, resonant hoo-hoo rolls across valleys and ruins, echoing like a ghostly bell. In Italy, hearing an eagle owl at night is unforgettable. A sound that feels both eerie and timeless, as though the landscape itself were speaking. And here's your FOMO. Many travelers admire Italy by day, but the true kings of the night sky remain unseen. Miss the Eurasian eagle owl, and you've missed a bird that embodies mystery, strength, and the enduring wild spirit of Europe. For birdwatchers, seeing one is a moment of awe. A flash of orange eyes in the beam of moonlight, the sudden rush of vast wings, and then silence again. It's not just an encounter, it's an experience that lingers. So let me ask you, if you stood in the ruins of an Italian castle and heard a low, booming call in the darkness, would you fear the night or realize you were in the presence of the ultimate nocturnal hunter? Comment below. And with that, our journey through Italy's 20 strangest species comes to a close. A reminder that even in a land of art and history, the wild writes masterpieces of its own. And there you have it. 20 of the strangest and most unforgettable birds of Italy. From the fiery crest of the hoopoe, to the rainbow brilliance of the bee-eater, to the acrobatics of the roller, and the ghostly camouflage of the rock ptarmigan, all the way to the blazing orange eyes of the Eurasian eagle owl, Italy has shown us that its natural wonders are every bit as spectacular as its art and history. We've seen giants like the great bustard and the griffon vulture, tiny craftsmen like the penduline tit, and mysterious night hunters that dominate the darkness. Each bird tells a story of survival, beauty, and strangeness that makes Italy's landscapes come alive in ways most travelers never imagine. But now it's your turn. Which of these 20 birds amazed you the most? Was it the owl with ember eyes, the vulture gliding on silent thermals, or the little architect weaving its pouch nest? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your choice. And if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next episode of Bird Videos. Share this video with a friend who loves nature, because the world is full of wings and wonders waiting to be discovered. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies